Hey everybody, welcome to this Ask the Expert session on mobile threat protection. My name is Adam Hall. I'm joined with Kasia on screen, and we have a number of experts behind us to answer all of your questions. Just before we get started, just setting up the appropriate etiquette and how to work with us. Please use the chat to ask the questions. We see all the questions coming through. Once it's approved by one of the moderators, it will become visible to the rest of the group. Please upvote the favorite questions. If someone's asking a question very similar to yours, let us know that it's popular and we can prioritize those. We'll answer the questions verbally on the screen and over the chat, depending on how many questions we have coming through and the topic. And then we'll also have a list of resources at the end so that you can learn more and engage with us further. Just a little bit on etiquette. This session is being recorded so that people can watch it afterwards. Please help our moderators by keeping your comments professional and appropriate, and also as you all are attendees of a Microsoft event, adhering to the Microsoft Code of Conduct that you have all been provided details on. And this is the Code of Conduct, making sure that we are in line with our non-toleration policies around harassment and discrimination of any kind, and also keeping this respectful in all ways. A little bit about ourselves. My name is Adam Hall. As I mentioned, I lead the security product marketing team. Kasia is with us. She is the lead on endpoint security. And then we have a team of people behind us, Kanishka, Pravula, Sanyana, and Pradeep. We also have Zach. Apologies, I don't have your name on the screen. They will be answering the questions and helping us on the way through. So a little bit about the topic. Mobile is a primary attack vector. We still see email and mobile apps and the mobile platform itself being a very popular attack vector for phishing attacks and other malicious behaviors. The phishing attacks on mobile, they're not just restricted to email. Think about web browsers, think about links. The physical size of these devices leads them to be easier to obfuscate bad links and bad attacks and having people click on things because they're on the road and they're rushing. This is a primary attack vector, and so we really want to raise awareness of that. There's also inherent dangers in the jailbroken and rooted device where additional permissions are being applied to users, and so when something is clicked on, there's a greater attack surface there. And whilst there is an ongoing malicious app scenario within the stores, there's also the web apps and sites that are coming through as well. And so our goal for this Ask the Experts is to help you understand what our platforms offer in terms of being able to leverage our platform and be able to develop apps that build on top of that, and to help you with some guidance on how to actually do that. And so with that, I'm going to hand over to Kasia now, who's going to take you through some setup to get the conversation going as to what our platform does, and hopefully we see some good questions. Over to you, Kasia.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Adam. So as Adam mentioned, mobile is a big attack vector. As customers and users are going home and on the road and using multiple different types of devices, the endpoint is vulnerable these days, or more than usual. There's more of them out there. And at Microsoft, we have a leading endpoint security solution that offers a number of capabilities to help protect endpoints against these kinds of threats. And here we have sort of a display of our capabilities for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, which is that solution. And the capabilities that we offer range from sort of the left-hand side, which you can think of as prevention capabilities. So vulnerability management, understanding, which applications have vulnerabilities, understanding how your systems are configured or maybe misconfigured, and not offering the appropriate security, through to, the traditional sort of protection and hardening your systems and antivirus. And then when you're moving to the right, offering endpoint detection and response and automated investigations. And so this solution is available for multiple endpoints. We've moved beyond the Windows platforms, but so we do offer it for Windows, but now we also offer security for Mac and Linux and iOS and Android, which we're talking about mobile, the mobile topic today. And that's key because like Adam said, that vector is spreading, it's expanding, that attack surface is, and it's a big concern for customers. Next slide, please. And so our aim with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is to make it a very flexible and extensible platform. So all these capabilities that I just talked about are available through a set of APIs and connectors and integration points that we have as part of the platform. And that allows developers and customers to be able to connect to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint and its information, whether it's alerts or logs or that sort of thing, over to devices, any sort of reporting dashboards and capabilities, apps, which we'll be talking about shortly. You can connect Defender for Endpoint into your SIEM, and then also additional sort of automation and other tools. Next, please. This slide talks a little bit more in detail about some of the use cases that we have for the APIs and connectors. So we think about connecting to the Defender for Endpoint platform sort of in 3 different ways. One is from a technology partner perspective. So we partner with a lot of the leading security ISVs and vendors in the industry, and they connect into the Defender platform through things like security analytics and operations, security automation tools. We link up threat intelligence, their threat intelligence, with our platform to enrich the information that's part of Defender, attack simulation, and so on. The other place or offer that we have is enabling security service providers to provide services on top of Defender. So whether they are a managed security service provider or a managed MDR, they can build their services on top of Defender so that they can offer customers the help they need to be able to triage alerts, even have them run their SOC for them. And then finally, there's a lot of custom apps that our customers create and reporting, and they use our APIs to do that. And so they can pull information from Defender to create reports and analytics that they can share across their organization, and set up automation and flows so that they can appropriately respond and triage alerts and incidents. And below that, we have, kind of the full list of the different types of ways that you can connect with the Defender platform. Lots of different APIs. We have a developer kit, partner integration kit, and even developer license. So if you're interested in developing on our platform, we do offer, I believe, a 1-year trial to be able to, play around with the platform and develop your solution. Next slide, please. This one's, again, a little bit more specific to Defender for Endpoint, where we enable, on the customer side, customers to be able to sort of explore the API interactively within our portal. They can also track which applications are integrating with Defender for Endpoint so that they can monitor and, be compliant with any, reporting and other regulations. And then they can also export all the data. We have a data export API and stream information into their storage accounts to advanced hunting and more sort of proactive types of security scenarios. Next slide, please. So going back to the mobile topic, like I said, Defender for Endpoint is available across Android and iOS. And the capabilities that we offer on these platforms are around these pillars that we have here. So one is web protection. As Adam said, phishing is a big attack vector on mobile. It comes through, not your traditional sort of email scenario, but it's coming through apps, links and text messages and messaging apps. It's very easy to click on these links, accidentally, even because of the small form factor. So we offer phishing protection. Also on Android, we offer scanning of apps and files for malware, because that is an attack vector there. And then, for the security operations team within the customer environment, there's a unified SecOps experience where customers can see all the alerts and information about any threats that are happening across their multitude of devices. The other thing that we offer is conditional access. So this is like, think of it as like, if a device is considered risky, like let's say it has malware and malware was detected on it, its risk score will be increased, and then that will prevent the user from being able to access sensitive data, such as their email or corporate storage, just to have that additional layer against breaches. On Android, we support both the device administrator and Android enterprise work profiles. And then finally, both for Android and iOS, the capabilities are available as part of the E5 license. So we license on a per user basis, and that entitles the user to have Defender for Endpoint on up to 5 devices. And one of those devices can be a mobile device. Next slide, please. And I believe this might be our last one. This is just a quick dive on what we offer for iOS. Much of the same of what's on Android, just a little bit less. We still have the web protection, anti-phishing, blocking unsafe network connections. We don't do the malware scanning, since that's maybe a little bit less of a scenario for iOS, but then the rest of the unified SecOps experience and the licensing that we offer, as I mentioned, is available on iOS. And then finally, with the configurations, this one's slightly different, but for iOS specifically, we offer both supervised and unsupervised configuration support. And with that, I think that is all we have to talk about with regards to Defender for Endpoint and the ways you can connect into the platform. I think there's been some questions and discussion happening in the chat. So
yeah, let's kick off. We got a good question to kick us off here. Do you believe there will be a growing necessity to have malware protection active on the endpoint in the near future? Do you see it being more applicable for Android over iOS? And how we'll skip the standard consumer devices for now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the approach to security is that it has to be multi-layered, right? Especially when customers and organizations are planning for zero trust and they're on their zero trust journey. They need to have the malware protection and just in general protection capabilities on their endpoint so that they can, satisfy the needs of their zero trust strategy. And yeah, I mean, of course, things will get through, and that's why we have EDR and detection and response. But you have to also have that protection. You have to harden your attack surface to make sure that you're minimizing the risk in your organization.
Yes, I think the phishing attacks and the potential there are going to be different for each platform depending on how they operate. Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Is Defender for Endpoint using deeper levels of API access to devices that normal apps don't in order to determine whether they're jailbroken, routing, etc.?
I might have the experts that are online answer that question within the chat.
Okay, just looking.
We've got
looking through the questions. Sorry. There we go. No, we do not have deeper level of API access than normal apps, but we do integrate with MDM applications. To use to use Defender for Endpoint on mobile, do the devices need to be enrolled? And by that, I'm believing the question is around Intune.
We use Intune as our management platform for mobile devices. Yes. If that's the question. Sorry, I'm having a delay on my end in seeing the question, so I apologize if I'm not totally on board with these.
Yeah, but there's a little bit of lag coming through. What are the top security threats for mobile applications deployed to a BYOD environment? They're particularly prevalent at the moment with the global pandemic and working remotely. Many of us are balancing across different devices and working on things that we normally wouldn't. That's an interesting question, and it's one where I think we need to think about, as you blend your home and work, what is that going to look like? Oh, great question here. Are we going to integrate techniques for protection into Edge and Office apps? I think we've got a ton already there. That's definitely a thing. Maybe, Kash, you could just talk a little bit around what we do with Edge and the Office apps today.
Yeah, so for example, on the web protection front, we actually share the same technology for what we do for iOS and Android and Edge, which is called Smart Screen. So we are able to block malicious or unreputable sites, or block users from accessing malicious or unreputable sites, which prevents, some of these phishing scenarios from happening in the first place. Outlook apps I'm maybe a little less familiar with, but also similar technology where in Outlook, if you are sent a link to a malicious site, it gets scanned by if the user does click on it, it gets scanned by Smart Screen. It checks against, the threat intelligence that we have at Microsoft, and then can again prevent the user from going to one of these malicious sites if Smart Screen determines or sees that the site is a bad one. So yes, that's one of the benefits of Microsoft, is that we share a lot of signal and intelligence across all our products, whether they're security or not security products. Edge isn't considered a security product, but because we're Microsoft, because we have such a large footprint, we can see a lot of things happening out there across a lot of different what we call domains. So across email, across endpoints, in the cloud. And again, one of the big benefits of partnering with Microsoft is that we have that visibility of the threat landscape, of the different attacker tools and techniques that are being leveraged out there. And we share that across all our products to make them stronger and better and more secure.
It's also a good question around how the scanning actually occurs. I think we've got the mobile app for Android and iOS out there, and we need to use the platforms as they provide. The question around, is there a delay in scanning, or is it available immediately? Maybe we could just talk about the on-click scanning that we put the apps through using the Defender client.
And I'll let the experts that are online also answer this, but for on mobile, if you, let's say take Android for example, if you download an app, the scanning happens immediately. So just like you would expect with other mobile threat applications or mobile threat solutions, the scanning happens immediately. There's a little notification that shows up after the scan happens that, yes, this is safe, or no, there's a problem with this, to let the user know and then be able to take some sort of action, or at least be aware that they may have a malicious app. Same with links, when you're clicking on them. Again, the Smart Screen service and the intelligence that we have at Microsoft, it's running fast and in real time, and so we let the user know pretty immediately if they are accessing a malicious site.
Yeah.
And then there's also sort of like ongoing scanning again with the mobile app the user can do, or manual scanning. So it's depending on how many apps you have on your phone, it may take some time, as you would experience with a normal sort of anti-malware scan on a traditional endpoint.
A good piece of feedback also to cover about providing documentation on deploying apps and configuring the policy. I think now that we have those mobile platforms out and there's great guidance there, I think the documentation between how these solutions all come together, that's a fair piece of feedback around making sure we do a great job of giving guidance and how to protect those back ends and also protect the interfaces themselves. Thank you. Anonymous. There's a question that's been published around links that are sent in SMS, text messaging, messaging applications, and the live preview functionality. And the answer provided by Profilo is the not scanning SMS, but if the preview is fetched from the back end, we scan those URL requests. That's a good question too. What else have we got coming through? Apologies for some pausing lags here. My Teams has got the spinning dots. Does Microsoft Defender actively monitor hardware such as Bluetooth, NFC, and others? I don't believe we do at this point. I think we're doing URL and phishing and anti-malware scanning.
On mobile, yes, those are the only things that we offer at this time. However, some of these things are on the roadmap, so stay tuned. And we continue to invest into our platform and develop and add more capabilities as we extend Defender for Endpoint across the different platforms that I mentioned: Mac OS, Linux, Android, and iOS. And so there's a lot coming, and highly recommend folks to follow our blog, which I don't know if we have links to our blog on that last slide, Adam. If not, we might want to put those in the chat. I'm happy to put that in there. Nope, these are Windows security. Yeah, so we have a dedicated blog for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. I can add the link to it, and that's where we announce all our latest and greatest capabilities, and that's where we point people to go to see what the latest is and sort of stay on top of it. And I believe you can set up an RSS feed so you're plugged in into our announcements. So
yep, we can. No problem. We've got a classic licensing question coming through, which is a fair question. Maybe we could talk a little bit around how we do the licensing for the endpoints, Defender for Endpoint, particularly as it relates to mobile.
Yeah, sure. So licensing is on a per user basis. So that means that each user is licensed, and then so we don't license by device, we license by user. And then within our licensing framework, each user is entitled to have Defender for Endpoint on up to 5 devices. So that user can have their Windows devices protected, their Mac OS devices, iOS, and Android. So no need to pay any extra for the iOS and Android capabilities. They're part of the license. And to get that license, you need to, we have a standalone license for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. We also offer Defender for Endpoint through the Microsoft 365 E5 license. There's also an E5 security add-on if you're a Microsoft 365 E3 customer that you can buy, that where Defender is part of that, and you will be licensed for the mobile capabilities through that.
Thank you.
And I just put the link into the chat for our blog. Like I said, great place to go to hear, just learn the latest and greatest about Defender for Endpoint. It's aka.ms/MSDE blog.
Awesome. I'm not quite sure how to interpret this question, but I think I'll change it slightly. Do you see security changing where security in layers or depth is required? I think we're already on this journey as part of moving to a zero trust model and having defense in depth and protecting at all layers and assuming breach scenarios. I think Defender for Endpoint, Kasia, is already in that mode where we protect all the layers and connect through to XDR and SIM. Maybe we could just talk a little bit about the connections there.
Yeah, I think so. There's a couple things that we do at Microsoft. One is, yes, we take a security in layers approach. Like, security is built into many of our products. It's in our DNA. There's a ton of security capabilities just built right into the Windows 10 platform. No additional, cost necessary. From some of the anti-malware that we offer to secure boots and that kind of thing. But then, to Adam's point, we have security capabilities that we build on top, and then connections out through across into our other security solutions. So to the point of XDR, XDR looks at securing your organization across the different types of attack vectors that are possible. So while we are sitting or talking about the endpoint space, XDR also offers protection for threats coming in through email, threats coming in through cloud applications, across identities. That's another attack vector, is identities and that sort of thing. So we connect seamlessly into what we have as our XDR capabilities. And again, that's another benefit of our platform. We're very flexible and extensible, and we try to take an approach where customers can be ready for what's next, and with the different offerings that we have.
All right, we're down to the last couple of minutes. Just checking the Q&A, and I see Kasha's put some resources in the link. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for answering the questions, and need to check this out. Absolutely, please do. There's loads of information there. We've got the Intune SDKs. There's lots of Android Xamarin opportunities there. GitHub has a ton of resources to help you build your apps. We've got the APIs and the platforms to connect into. We can all do a great job of helping all of our end users and customers leverage this security. He's looking for any last questions coming through. Oh, there's a question from Raman. Is Microsoft Defender helpful against spyware, worms, and network spoofing? Zach has replied there. Defender leverages our comprehensive intelligence around the app system. We do detect all forms of apps that have been deemed malicious, and then to Kasha's point, we do feed that back into the integration points around XDR, and whether it's piping into your SIM. You definitely want to be correlating that not only across endpoints, but also into identities and apps and infrastructure. Malicious actors and attackers are not going to just attack the mobile endpoint. They're going to take a run at you in any way they can to get a foothold, and then be able to expand out from there. And as you think about some of the recent incidents we've had that have been well publicized recently, any way that they can get in and land a footprint, whether that's the identity, the endpoint, or some infrastructure, bad attackers will have a run at you in every way they can. And so very much need to do all of that. So we're down to 1 minute remaining. Just want to say thank you to everyone for attending. Thank you to our experts for answering the questions. Some resources there around gaining access to more of the solutions. Kasha also put some in there. A couple of Twitter handles there for you to follow, where our announcements and so on go. Any last thoughts from you, Kasha?
No, thanks everyone for joining. The questions were really great, and that's all. Definitely go to the blog, like I said, for all the latest and greatest on Defender for Endpoint, and thanks again for joining us.
And please fill in the survey link. We want to hear the feedback. Was it useful? Could we do something different? Do you need more information? Help us make these sessions better so they're most useful for you.